They did it again. The West Virginia Mountaineers continue to rock the transfer portal, this time signing one of America's best defensive backs. And, oh, by the way, my confidence meter on one of the best tight ends in the portal. On this episode of Locked On West Virginia. Stick around.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up? Welcome back in, guys. My name is Mountaineer Paul. I am your host, and we're here on Locked On West Virginia. Thank you for being here, guys. I appreciate you guys for joining in, as always, here on Locked On. You guys are everyday listeners around here. You do such a great job supporting this show, podcast, and YouTube, and can't thank you guys enough. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen, guys, and for being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we talk about your team every single day. That's really important because we do that every day. You can come see me here most of the time, 7 days a week, sometimes twice a day. So if you're looking for me on podcast form, whether it's YouTube, either one, either or, doesn't matter. I'll be here for you each and every day. And that's what this is all about, man. Everyday content, something to talk about your Mountaineers every single day. And today we've got exciting news, and we have for the past couple of days, as more commitments continue to rain down upon the West Virginia Mountaineers program. And what's crazy about that is you start to look at the scholarship limit, like, when are they going to stop? Right. And I think, what will eventually end up happening is, I call this a cleansing. Eventually you'll see some guys leave that are on the roster now. It may not be until spring, but if this staff can bring in guys they feel like are better than the guys they already have, or maybe harder edged or whatever it is, then you may see some guys that are on the roster leave at some point. So I wouldn't get too caught up in the roster numbers. I did see a couple of people wondering about that, and I think they can get up to 105 or whatever it's going to be. It's going to be wild trying to keep track of all these numbers. So let's get into this. The first commitment that I want to talk about, and I don't remember which order these came in today. I think it was this one came second, but that's fine. We're talking about Akron corner Devontae. How does he say his first name exactly? Devontae Golden Nelson, who is 5'10", 185 pounds. This is a kid that started his career at Memphis. He was there for 2 seasons, only appeared in 4 games. So he decided to laterally move over to Akron. Maybe it's a small step down. I'm not really sure. And he really caught on with the Zips later in his career. This is what I consider to be a more late blooming prospect. And, man, did this guy turn into a really good player the last year at Akron. He was good against Ohio State. He was good against South Carolina. I went and watched some of his tape. He played really well against really good competition. And in 29 games over the past 3 years, he recorded 66 tackles, 10 passes defended, and a pair of picks. Last year alone, he had 33 tackles and 7 passes defended. And then entered the portal on December 17th is what I have written down here. And then he was offered by a bunch of places. You see Houston, you see Oklahoma State, UNLV is on the list. So a lot of really good programs wanted this guy, comparable to West Virginia, absolutely. And he's a guy that's got over 1,000 snaps in his career. And on tape, I'll tell you what I like about him. He plays with a ton of confidence. This is a guy that really hypes himself up during a game or during a series. Against Ohio State, man, he was lit up in that game. As far as from a personality standpoint, I mean, he was just hyped up. I mean, you could tell he loves, I think he needs that. He feeds into that and gets into that verbal jousting and all that kind of stuff. So this is a guy, man, I think is going to have a chance to play right away at West Virginia. I mean, you go look at what he did at Ohio State, South Carolina, and others. Man, he played well against really good competition. And so that's what I look for. When I look at a transfer from the group of 5 level, I immediately go and see what games they played against Power 5 competition and how they succeeded or did not succeed against those kind of teams. So this guy has an above average Pro Football Focus grade. Certainly, I think Zach Alley and crew think they can use him in a way that's beneficial to the team. And I understand. At this point, this is the 17th transfer edition for the West Virginia Mountaineers in what, about a week? I mean, it was just a week ago we were saying, when are we going to get the first guy? When are we going to get the first transfer? And then bang, we've had 17 come in a row now, and a lot to be excited about, because I think this is a totally rebuilt secondary, and there's a lot to like about it. I'm a big fan of the way they're building this team defensively. And look, you look at what Richrod has done here, and it's totally, absolutely rebuilt through the defense. I mean, you look at it. So let's look at some of the defensive pieces West Virginia has brought in so far. Number one, it was Jordan Scruggs. Remember, the South Alabama kid? That's another kid that's going to possibly be a starter. You get into him, then you had a few offensive guys come through. Michael, well, we haven't talked about him. We had Derek Carter, Fred Perry, and then Jordan Walker yesterday happened, Ashton Woods, and now Devontae Golden Nelson. So you continue to see this trend of linebackers, defensive backs. We'll have some defensive line as well before this is all said and done. But right now they're focusing on where I think one of the most plentiful positions in the portal is the defensive back, because there's so many on one team, as many as 5 for some teams, especially if you play that 3-3-5, right? You need 5 defensive backs, although varying. Some of them are hybrid linebacker safeties, but generally considered defensive backs in this era. So I think you look at it and say, okay, so we can see what this team is going to do. They're likely going to run a non-front, and they're going to need defensive backs. You're going to have at least 2 to 3 deep at every position, guys. So in a 3-3-5, which is probably what Alley's going to run. I know he runs some even front too. Not sure exactly what they're going to do yet. Looking to see what they're going to do. So I'm excited about that. Now we're going to talk about what I consider to be possibly the best available corner in the portal. West Virginia was able to land Coe Jr. from Nevada today. This dude's a seatbelt. One of the very best on-tape corners I've seen in a couple of years out of the portal that West Virginia's gotten. I think Beanie Bishop is a good comp, somebody that when I watched at Minnesota, I'm like, holy cow, man, this guy has really great coverage skills. He really plays tight to defenders, and he is long and athletic. This is by far the most impressive defensive player that we've landed. Him and Perry are really close. Man, they play different positions, though. I mean, this is as impactful yesterday as Perry was at the corner spot for West Virginia. And I'm telling you, one of the best corners in the country, guys. He was a first team All-Mountain West selection. He finished second nationally in pass breakups with 14, 41 tackles, and 4 interceptions. Let me repeat that. Second nationally in pass breakups of 14, 41 tackles, and 4 picks. Here's the best part. He's got an extra year of eligibility. He spent his first 3 years at East Central Community College in Mississippi. So he's going to have an extra year of eligibility, giving him 1 year left at the collegiate level. And look, you go put this guy on, and if you go to his X profile, where I found him, this dude is so impressive. I mean, he jams guys at the line of scrimmage. One of my favorite things that he does is obviously he dislodges receivers. So, most people know, but there is a 5-yard limit at which you can make contact. And I don't know if the college level, if it's a little bit different, but generally speaking, 5 to 7 yards, you can make contact with the receiver and try to reroute or dislodge them as long as you're not holding. And what he does such a good job at is rerouting receivers, getting them off schedule so that the quarterback wide receiver connection is thrown off. And he is so physical and he's so long that whenever he gets into these guys, man, I mean, it looks like almost at times like an offensive lineman rerouting like a defensive lineman, trying to get them in the, like he does such a great job in press man. They're going to have a lot of fun using Michael Coates. And this guy is going to be an absolute stud. Day one starter along with Fred Perry. You can mark those two down. When West Virginia runs out of 11 on defense next year, barring injury, Fred Perry, Michael Coe Jr., I would bet money would be day one starters. They'd be day one starters at almost anywhere in the country. We have landed two. These are two better than any I've seen in the Neil Brown era. Outside of Beanie Bishop and Charles Woods, I think these are two better than any I saw. And I didn't see Beanie Bishop coming. I don't think anybody did. But this is a truly impressive get for the Mountaineers guys. And they don't listen, it's not done there. So continue to watch because, like I said, I've got a couple other guys I'm going to talk about on the other end of the break. One of them was an All-American at Texas A&M. And I'm going to give you a confidence meter for that one. So you might want to stick around for that. This is Locked On West Virginia. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia is brought to you by Rocket Money. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? Because it definitely happened to me. I had a few subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was still paying for. Rocket Money made it easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances, which everybody needs one of those. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps cancel and find your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one easy place, whether it's subscriptions, spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all the app's premium features. For me, one of the best features is the subscription tracker. I've used it to cancel services I wasn't using anymore, and I've already saved a ton on that. Plus, their goals feature, I've been able to automatically set aside money for my future. No more stressing about budgeting every month. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedoncollege today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. And we are back. This is Locked On West Virginia. Thanks for joining, guys. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. We've got 500 of you guys in here right now. And leave a comment below. Let me know how you feel about these awesome additions to the West Virginia football team. In segment 2, we crack a do and take a sip. And my cat jumps up on the chair behind me. Get down, honey. Sorry about that, guys. Can't stop what cats do. Normally they stay away when I'm doing this, but apparently she wanted to jump up there today. All right, so it's time for a confidence meter, and I am feeling really good about a few prospects that the West Virginia is looking at right now. Let's start with the one that I teased in the opening, which is Texas A&M transfer tight end Donovan Green. I had a nice conversation with Donovan, man. He is a super nice kid just to start with, and he's a grown man. It's just a habit. Sometimes I say kid. If you haven't been able to check out what he does with the shoes yet, he is a shoe customization guy. And what he does is while he was at Texas A&M, he basically will take like different dyes, different things like that, and make the shoes look way better, really. I mean, he's got like he had shark teeth, like a shark teeth kind of look on one. There was, I don't know how, like he had a Texas A&M one. I have pictures up here, but I can't share them. Let's see. He had some Nike Air shoes that he repainted. He had some dunks that he made look really cool. So anyway, check that out, guys. And so during our conversation, he was on his way to the Pittsburgh airport from Morgantown, and he loved, capital L, loved his visit. And I'm going to mark this out of 9 out of 10 in confidence. That's how confident I am. I think he's going to commit to West Virginia. That's just the truth of it. In speaking to him, I'll give you a quote here without giving away everything we spoke about. But I felt like this was very telling. So you guys take it from here. My decision will come really soon, and I loved everything about the school and Coach Rod, staff, etc. They have every right to be confident. So 9 out of 10 is pretty good. But here's the thing, guys. Give the kid his day in the sun. Let him make a decision, and let's not ruin anything for him or go. Let's not say that he's committing or has committed. We all know anything can change. Somebody can come out of left field with an offer for this guy who, and let's not forget, was a freshman All-American at Texas A&M, had about 25 catches, but what he did as a blocker and what he can do after the catch is elite. Like West Virginia doesn't get guys like this often, and in recruiting, we just don't. So the portal has changed the game for us in that aspect. This is a 6'5", 255-pound tight end that runs a 4.6 40, is a really good route runner, but after the catch is an absolute beast. No offense to Cole Taylor, guys, none at all. This is another level. This is a guy that you could say if he went to Ohio State tomorrow, you would say that makes sense. Like he's this type of athlete, but he wants to be a big fish in a small pond somewhere like West Virginia. So when I say I'm confident, it doesn't mean 100% sure that he's going to commit, but there's a good shot. So take that for what you will. And look, what he does in line blocking, and I don't mean to undersell what he does as a receiver, because it's all Big 12 caliber as a receiver, but what he does as an inline blocker is even more I'm just telling you, it's more impressive. Like I said, he's 6'5", 255, and I think they see a dual threat guy that they can use in several circumstances. I could see them using him in like split out to block for Cam Vaughn on a bubble pass, different things like that, because he's athletic enough to do that. Yes, he was a freshman All-American. So, this is a guy, man, you got to be honest here. If West Virginia gets him, this is probably one of the bigger splashes we'll have this offseason. So, and he's not the only one. I have a confidence meter for another one too. Scottre Humphrey, right? Running back out of Montana. Is it Montana? Montana State. Sometimes I get a little confused on the exact school when they're from these smaller ones. Let me make sure I'm getting this right really quick. All right. Let's see. Montana State. Okay. So look, this is a guy, and you look at who he's offered by right now, and this is what, I had a different confidence meter before this. He's got Ole Miss, Virginia Tech, North Carolina, UNLV, West Virginia. So in my opinion, he would be a possible 2,000-yard rusher in our offense. He reminds me of Emmitt Smith so much. He's who he really reminds me of? Deuce Vaughn. That's what he's like. He's about, he probably can't be 5'8", 5'9" at the most. And he's one of those guys that you just can't knock off balance. You just can't. And at Montana State, I was so impressed with what he did, and watching his tape, man, is so impressive. And our conversations have been good. He's trying to obviously sort through all this mess right now. I understand that he's being really, really sought after right now, because guys like him, like the kid from Pitt last year, Reed, I think his last name was, the running back from Pitt last year, he's similar to that, where he's like this dual threat as a pass catcher, running back combo. and is impossible to knock off balance. Go look up Scottre Humphrey, Scottre Humphrey, Humprey. There's a couple videos you can find of him on X. If you look up Montana State, like there's a couple. I think one of them is a bowl performance, but you'll get the picture. He is an elite balance type guy, and him and Jaheim would be. I would be worried for Jaheim's starting spot at that point if he came. That's how good this guy is. Like, you could make a case for that. I'm not trying to say that Jaheim would be benched or anything like that. Like, but this guy is of that level of Jaheim. Like, they're right there with each other. So Jaheim is a different back. He's more of a scat back and more of a juke people out kind of guy. Humphrey is more of the kind of back that he's one cut. He's got great speed, but he bounces off so many people where he's got so much great balance. One more, and then we'll move on. Actually, let's do it after the break. We'll talk about Huntington native Robbie Martin right after this. Stick around. This is Locked On West Virginia. Okay, so no ad read there. I want to thank you guys once again really quick for joining the show. As we climb towards 600 viewers, I just wanted to say thank you guys once again. You continually make me, my boss called me once again today to congratulate me on the show and also critique me, which I do appreciate. But thank you guys on YouTube. Thank you guys on podcasting forum for continuing to make me relevant in this space. It means a lot to me. This is my life. Truly, it's my life. It's all I think about, all I do. And I just want to impress you guys. I just want to impress my family. I want to impress myself and continue to push forward and be the number one YouTube / podcasting West Virginia show. That's a goal that anybody that does this should have, right? So let's talk about Robbie Martin. One of the best linemen to come out of the state of West Virginia, certainly in the last decade. Spurned, went to NC State, and I think Gibby had a lot to do with that, but I'm not 100% sure. So Robbie Martin's going to be visiting West Virginia. Or maybe he already is. Can't remember if it's today or tomorrow. You'll have to forgive me. But during my conversations there, this is another one where you can say, okay, obviously this is a hometown kid, come back home. And I was already confident before any conversation started that if West Virginia offered, it would probably happen. Now, you do get a little nervous for Marshall because he's from Huntington. And it's not like Marshall's a slouch right now, and Tony Gibson's an elite recruiter. And they've got guys there that could probably tell him and spin him a really nice story. But let's not pretend like, what's the way to put this? Let's not pretend like Marshall's, I don't know. It's not West Virginia, right? I'll address this one more time really quick, too. I've been critiqued not to engage with the chat because it's hard for people in podcast form. So, I don't want to, I'll get in trouble for that. And I understand why, because it's not good for those listening on podcasts and stuff like that. But it's something I've done for so long now that I want to address it one last time here. Like, and those of you in the chat from here on can maybe tell people, but yeah, I'm not supposed to address the chat and stuff because, I'm trying to, there are people that do this better than I do it, and I want to get to where they're at. And so following their advice, because I have to grow not only this, but the podcasting side of it, addressing the chat can be a little disorienting for those that listen on just podcast. And I'm bad for it. Sometimes I'll just read a message and reply without even reading the question. So like if somebody listening, not knowing what's going on, they're like, what the heck was that? And they could just be like, well, I don't want to listen to this. So I've been advised just to kind of stay away from it and just do the show. And so that's what I'm going to do. But look, that's not going to be the end. I'm setting up the Discord like I told you guys. It'll be launching this coming week, and we'll be able to interact on there every single day. So just give me another 4 or 5 days, and we'll have that up, okay? Other than that, I'm going to give you 8 out of 10 confidence meter for Robbie Martin to West Virginia. It would take a couple things for him to not come here. But I'll say this. West Virginia, I was told West Virginia needed to sweeten the pot. This has been a week ago. So I haven't stayed in contact 100% on this. I've kind of just let it play out since then, since I found out he was visiting. I'll check back in after this show. So other than that, though, I think we got a good shot of him being here at West Virginia. And why wouldn't he? It's a great shot. It's a great spot. The offensive line room is wide open. So there are multiple reasons to think like this is a great pick, it's a lateral move from NC State to West Virginia. And to be honest, it's a better scheme. What they were running there, I didn't like that offense they had at NC State last year. I felt like it was way more like Neil Brown kind of style, which is, it's not bad for offensive linemen, but what Richrod does now is it gets linemen. One of the big selling points of what the scheme that Richrod runs is a lot of NFL teams run a lot of the schemes that they run as far as from a blocking standpoint. So there's a lot of inside zone. There's some gap stuff too. Like it's not all one thing, but yeah. So there's a lot to like about it. And I think if you'll remember, I spoke with Xavier Bosley kind of about that. What the scheme is like, and then we talked about that he was on here. We did that deal with him, and so yeah, it's been a fun few weeks though, keeping track of all these transfers. And so before we go, let's kind of go over what we've got remaining. Now, I don't know where these numbers came from because I haven't been able to ask my buddies in the chat that I'm in with, but they, I'm in a group chat with a couple guys that kind of keep everything together for me. So, it looks like we had 19 scholarship guys go out, 6 walk-ons went out. So scholarship players with eligibility remaining looks like it's 43. Currently committed signed prospects is 22. Currently committed signed transfers is 15, which that'll go up after today. And total scholarships currently set for next season, max 105. So, and it was 80 before that. So, we've got some wiggle room still, but certainly they have a lot to, and that may have been something that 24/7 or Rivals put out, and they just put in there. I'm not 100% sure. So somebody else may know, but yeah, so they, I just happened to get to that late in the video, but I'll tell you this too. There are a couple other guys that are going to be committing here in the next couple of days that I've been hinting about, that for whatever reason, it hasn't happened yet. And I'll just only say this. The only holdup on what should be 2 commitments at the same time is the media. They've been waiting the media to drop, which I guess the university does. I don't know exactly why it's taken longer, or if it's just natural. Maybe they all have to wait a few days, and that's just the way it is. I'm not sure. But I would expect at least 2 more, and it'll be 2 at the same time. It should be. Unless they have them planned separately, but they'll be from the same team. So just keep looking for that, and I'll keep pushing it out there until it happens. But it's not that it's not happening. I think it's just that it's just whatever reason the media from the university hasn't been put out yet. So keep watching for that, guys, and I appreciate you. Other than that, not a lot else to talk about. I appreciate you for joining. Hit that like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen, and for being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we talk about your team every single day. Drake Toll, Locked On Podcast, over on YouTube as well. Locked On Big 12 does an excellent job. He covers conference realignment. He pulls no punches. He's one of the best out there. He did 1 million views last month, like I keep saying. Make sure you check him out over on Locked On Big 12 on YouTube. Or if you like listen to podcasting or whatever, he's there too, wherever you get your podcast. Same for me, Locked On West Virginia. Let's keep growing. We're close to 4,000 here. Keep coming back, guys. I'll have more news every single day for you. And look, if we have any more breaking news tonight, I'll be back. You know how it is. Other than that, I thank you guys for joining in. I'll be back tomorrow at some point. If no more news tonight, I'll see you then. Have a great night. This episode's over. Good night.